Hello, everyone. I'm Jamie Price. It's time for the quarterly reading from my Cosmic Consciousness Ascension deck. The light language on the cards helps you release and activate whatever the topic of the card is. And this particular reading really points to an important focus for 2025. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, yes, the Orions do show up. And I also always like to look at the bottom card that's left at the deck after I pull cards, even though it's not directly part of the reading. This one definitely pertains. So if you're interested in that, you can read about it on my website on the post. I'll put a link to that below. It is definitely a time of a lot of intense changes, and you'll see in the cards that they are really helping us to move through those changes. I was guided to pick 3 cards, and just to let you know, the energy of 3 is actually going to be really prevalent in 2025. So make sure you subscribe to my newsletter, subscribe here on YouTube to stay aware of that, because I feel it really has to do with understanding the foundations of third density with more clarity, which is always important, but especially as you're shifting into a higher level, which is our fourth density, because to actually shift means you have that good understanding. Otherwise, too much of it is unconscious. Kind of like Orion talks a lot about, don't just get stuck on cliches like all time is now. Really understand what that means and how it pertains to linear time so that then you can actually integrate that higher density. So I feel like the number 3 is going to be really coming up in a lot of different ways throughout the next year. Anyway, a tangent. I was guided to pick 3 cards for this reading, and we actually have 3 different galactic races this time. The first card is a Pleiadian card, which is, of course, all about expansion. That whole Pleiadian suit really helps us expand into the topic. The card is brain circuitry. The expansion of our brain circuitry is an important topic, and Ariane has been preparing us for that strongly since probably around 2021. And they've been talking about our tri-wave brain flow since probably about 2023. The booklet covers how our brain is designed to build neural pathways that create habit and kind of put certain things on autopilot. This is a natural function that allows us to layer complexity, add new learning. But if we're not careful, then those habits that form will not necessarily be the best for us. And it also means that we need to stay aware as we're adding complexity. We have to be open and willing to change. And that takes some effort and often healing to actually build healthy habits and good neural patterning. Being willing to observe the positives and the negatives, but not staying overly focused on the negatives, focusing yourself towards the positive authentically, taking actions to back up the changes that you want to create, relaxing where you get overstressed. And our mental and emotional are deeply entwined. So when your brilliant mind is attuned to your infinite heart, you build access to your infinite mind. And that requires neutral observation, being authentic so that changes can occur rather than suppressing and resisting change or forcing change that can't sustain, because that flexibility or that neuroplasticity is an important part of your vitality. Change is constant here in the physical realm. So, really going with that flow of change and letting that become natural is important. There's a great line in the booklet that says, Release fear and relax into the exciting discomfort zone of new creation. Importantly, this card actually was also upside down. So this means it's a little bit more important than other things. So, really being aware of that discomfort zone of new creation can really help you move past some of those conscious or especially the unconscious fears that hold you back. Be aware of your thought patterns and how you're using your brilliant mind. You are a fractal of the universe. And the more you become resonant with that greater level of connection, the more your greater mind functionality, your greater brain circuitry comes online. We know that we only technically use a small portion of our functionality. I think part of that is because we don't necessarily have all of the capability to discern or determine in a more scientific way with repetition what's actually occurring, but also more of that higher brain functionality means moving from unconscious into superconscious. So, really opening up a lot more of that brain circuitry and using it. Of course, this is very important for manifestation, for fueling like that loving information, the desires and the peaceful expansion into the field, for seeing that better potential for life on earth for you and for everyone, because that's the natural flow of thriving, expanding, so that we're not just living by default. Don't stay in fear of what's going on in the world. Stay focused as much as possible, moving through those authentic emotions and thoughts, but staying focused on new potential and dealing directly with what's in your circle of influence, your light work, and then letting that broader flow out into the world. The second card is neutrality. This is from the Syrian suit, so it's initiating change within. This is such an important topic. Becoming actively engaged in your neutrality. Essentially, being diligently relaxed, being consciously relaxed, noticing the nuance of how you're feeling when there's tension coming up and soothing yourself through that, because your neutrality is an important and powerful creative state. Neutrality doesn't mean you have no mental or emotional reactions. It means that you are willing to work through them because you know that as you transform with neutrality, any challenges become the wisdom of lesson learned. They become new potential. They become a new trajectory in the future. And of course, you've heard me talk about the subatomic structure and how the neutral neutron, it's the largest subatomic particle, the largest aspect of the atomic structure. It's the bridge of stable new creation as those opposites, the positive and the negatively charged proton and electron, attract. That neutron creates that stable connection so that new form can build. Your neutrality is an open, grounded, powerful, aware, creative state. It's not just a monotone of no emotion. The intention for this card is I am neutral, deeply compassionate, and open to change. Even if you don't start at neutrality, use your brilliant heart and mind to work your way there. That brain circuitry coming online more. It builds courage to interact with life more easily. It transforms the challenges into new potential. Your neutrality puts your energy field into that open creative state that allows new information, allows new solution, new potential. It's incredibly important. Neutrality. And this card was originally upside down as well. Again, in this deck, that typically means that it needs more focus. So, kind of like that Seinfeld episode, Serenity Now, that's our mantra, neutrality now. That neutrality and staying open builds that brain circuitry to be able to stay aligned with the infinite mind more, helping stable change to progress here on Earth. The final card, dun dun dun, it is an Orion card. And of course, this suit is all about releasing. And I really love these cards because they can be intense, the topics, but also very powerful. The topic of the card can also be an extreme version, like perhaps it applies a little more mildly to you, but the Orions were insistent of not watering down the topics so that we could be fully aware of any kind of resistance. The final card is anger. Now, it is not surprising that the energy of anger is prevalent. Anger is an indicator that there's a sense of a lack of empowerment, a lack of respect, a lack of justice, a lack of control, and on and on. It's actually a fiery energy, so it has the potential to really create change. And suppressing anger isn't healthy. But of course, it's also not healthy to spew anger indiscriminately and end up causing more harm. So, dealing with anger in a healthy way is really important. And remember, you might be experiencing a milder version than anger, like resentment, disappointment, frustration, or things that feel maybe even like sorrow, because it is often shielded by anger, or sometimes sorrow is shielding your anger. It could even be something that's a little more neutral, but is still related, like wanting a different outcome, feeling impatient. But it's an energy that anger is an energy that moves and it creates change when it's used positively. Humanity's anger in general has been collectively rising to the surface more for years now. And that is a sign of people really desiring a change with how much control they have in their own lives, or feeling that lack of empowerment. The intention is anger is showing me a desire for empowerment within. So even if you are feeling blissful and you're not relating to this card at all, you can probably understand that the collective is seeking to move toward more empowerment within. That's the time that we're in. That's what Ascension is all about. So this is a really good topic to be aware of and work with in any ways that it applies to you in your different moments, and even how it's collectively playing out. Because when anger is transformed, it heals blame, it heals pain, trauma, disempowerment, and lets that transform into more empowerment. And that builds more courage, more compassion within you, and it ripples out into the collective through time. Anger can stir positive action, it can stir empowerment. So focus there with your brilliant brain circuitry and that creative, powerful neutrality. So in just a moment, I'll put all three cards on the screen. And as you're looking at the light language, notice what comes up for you. What are you sensing physically, mentally, emotionally? Notice any kind of psychic impressions, any memories, anything that feels like something you want to create in the future. And perhaps you feel it's impossible, or things that stress you out, or things that give you joy. If you're feeling positively, then you're activating that. If you're feeling things that feel more negative, you're in that release state. And so, really be attuned to whatever you're noticing coming up when the light language is on the screen, because it's helping you to move through whatever's coming up for you in the moment, which changes if you watch this again because that light language is dynamic. You're expanding your brain circuitry. You're initializing more neutrality within, and you're releasing and transforming anger into new potentials, into more empowerment within you. And then that keeps flowing out into this world. So take a nice, relaxing breath and enjoy the written light language.